All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something that's literally running our digital lives, even if you've never actually seen it: SQL. It's the hidden language behind pretty much everything you do online, and we're going to break down exactly what it is and why it's so incredibly important.
So let's just dive right in with a problem that, honestly, you and I are part of every single day. This massive, and I mean massive, explosion of data. Every time you post a photo, search for something, or buy a product, all of that information has to go somewhere. And think about the companies behind all this. They're not just dealing with a lot of data. We're talking about a tsunami of information every single second. To make any sense of it at all, this data needs a home, a system to keep it all organized, safe, and, most importantly, ready to be pulled up in an instant.
And that home is called a database. Now, the best way to picture this is to think of a giant, perfectly organized digital library. It's not just a messy folder of files. It's a carefully designed structure, built for one thing: speed and efficiency.
Okay, so we have this library, right? But here's the twist. You and I, we don't actually go into the library ourselves. We need an intermediary. And that's a piece of software called a database management system, or DBMS. So if the database is the library, well, you guessed it, the DBMS is our librarian.
And this analogy is pretty much perfect. You make a request, and the DBMS, our super helpful librarian, goes into the stacks to find what you need, add a new book, or take one out. It's that crucial middleman doing all the heavy lifting for us.
Now, databases really come in two main flavors. You've got your non-relational types, which are kind of like a flexible folder full of different documents. But for today, we're going to focus on the other kind, relational databases. And these are your super organized spreadsheets, Everything has its place in neat little tables with rows and columns.
So if the DBMS is our librarian, how do we talk to it? We can't just walk up and ask a question in plain English, right? There needs to be a standard language that this librarian understands no matter which library we're in. And that language is SQL, which stands for Structured Query Language.
All right, let's settle the great debate, the one you hear in pretty much any tech office. Is it SQL or is it SQL? People can get pretty passionate about this one, but the history is actually quite simple. And surprise, the answer is, you can say it either way. Turns out when IBM first created the language, it was actually called SQL. They just shortened it to SQL later on, but the old pronunciation kind of stuck around. So really, you can use whichever one you like.
Okay, so back to how this all works. The absolute heart of a relational database is something called a table. It's a really simple idea, but it's incredibly powerful. Let's just imagine a basic table for a college's student records.
And this right here is a perfect example. You've got your columns, roll number, name, marks. Those tell you what kind of info you're storing. And then each row, that's one complete record for one specific student. It's super clean, super logical, and that rigid structure is what keeps everything from turning into total chaos. But let's zero in on that roll no column for a second. See how it's called the primary key? That's a huge deal. It means every single number in that column has to be unique. You can't have two students with the same roll number. This is what guarantees you're always grabbing the exact right person's data. I mean, think about your bank account. This is absolutely mission-critical stuff.
Okay, cool. So we get the structure. But what's the point? What can you actually do with SQL? Well, its true power really boils down to four main actions. And they've got this great little acronym, CRUD. C is for create. That's you signing up for a new service. You're creating data. R is for read. That's what you're doing every time you scroll your social media feed. U is for update, like when you change your profile picture. And D is for delete, like, well, deleting an old post. Seriously, almost everything you do online is one of these four actions.
And look, this isn't just some textbook theory. SQL is the real-world engine inside the biggest, most trusted databases on the planet. We're talking MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server. These are the workhorses that run basically everything, from small businesses to massive corporations.
And this is so important. You might be thinking, okay, but what about all the new fancy tech? Well, a system like MySQL has stayed at the top for one simple reason: performance. It's just so good at what it does. It uses these really clever tricks like caching to make everything lightning fast. That's why it's still a total powerhouse, even today in the age of the cloud.
So that brings us to the big question, right? In a world of AI and all this new NoSQL stuff, why are we still talking about a language that's almost 50 years old?
The answer is actually pretty simple. Our world runs on organized, structured data. SQL is solid, it's powerful, and everybody understands it. And as long as we need to keep track of things, from our bank balance to our Netflix history, SQL is going to be there, quietly running the show as the true language of data.